listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.
Hello and welcome to the Scoreboard Addicts Podcast. This is a special edition episode. We are reviewing March Madness, and as you can see, or as you're going to hear, is that this is not Nick's voice, and you don't see Nick or TJ. They're not joining me today. This is a solo Rook with two special guests. We have Billy and Bob from the Billy and Bob Benton Bonanza. Is that what it is? Or Extravaganza?
Bill and Bob. We've changed the name a few times, so we're right now on Bill and Bob's bracket busting Bonanza, the 5B podcast.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I actually do have a picture of you guys. I was going to pull up this right here. So this is the
that's from several years ago.
Where you can find it. Let me just
better looking days.
Yeah, you can find it on iTunes.
Yeah, on iTunes. Bill and Bob's Benton Bonanza. I think that's what you could search for to find them there. And then, so we're just gonna go through do the bracket. I mean, I know
Bob,
Nick
you haven't aged a day in 5 years, according to that picture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. So typically, obviously, I'm here with Nick and TJ. They're not really big into college basketball, so I got Bill and Bob to join me to go over some bets, some Cinderella stories, or possible Cinderella stories, and then we're going to give our predictions of the Final Four and national champion. So I guess just to get started, guys, I guess for bets on the first round, what are you guys looking at? I mean, I don't know if I have the bracket as well, so I'll pull it up briefly to show you real quick. And then, what do you guys got for first round? Any exciting bets or something you want to put your money down on?
Bill, if you want to start in the West, I know you had an upset special there.
I do have an upset special in the West. Team I really like and have liked all year long, Vermont. The Catamounts. Now, Arkansas, who they're going up against, is a very good team, and it's not really as much a knock on Arkansas as it is a compliment to Vermont. Vermont's got the exact pedigree you want for a team that could make a little mini run to the Sweet 16 this year in the NCAA tournament, even as a 13 seed. Their performance in their conference tournament was one of the best performances you'll ever see in a conference tournament. They didn't play a game that was less than 25 points. It was an absolute blowouts all the way through. They're very senior laden team, and they can really shoot the basketball. They've got four guys who are 38% and above 3-point shooters. They've got pretty good rebounding inside on the defensive end. Not a great offensive rebounding team, but you can let that go because they can shoot the ball so well. They're very balanced scoring-wise, but their best player is a guy by the name of Ryan Davis. He's averaging 17 a game, 42% from three. He's a forward. He's got some size. He's going to be a matchup nightmare for Arkansas. And the one other thing I'll add is if Vermont gets out to a lead early, they've got six guys who shoot free throws over 78% in their top seven. So it's not the kind of team where you'll see them blow leads late by missing free throws. So Arkansas is favored in that game in the 4-13, but I really like Vermont.
Also a tough team to put away when you got three different guys who shoot over 40% from three.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And then also, I think what was the spread? About 5.5, I think, right now. I believe I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it at 5.5.
Yeah, I started 5.5, which I was actually looking at that game and I was thinking the same thing as you stated before with the excellent shooting that Vermont has. I actually watched that conference game and I should have took Vermont. They've won by almost 40. It was easy win. I think it was a 15.5 point spread, and I was like, that's a big spread, but they covered that easily.
Yeah, they were favored by I think 15.5 in that game, and they almost doubled them up. They won by 40, and I think the other team had 42, so would have to have, whatever it was, 84 to double them up. They just missed it.
Yeah,
they're for real. And the other thing I'll add is Arkansas has a pretty good team, but they are there's a big fall off between their number one guy, Malte, and everybody else on the team. So with all these extra days to prepare, you'd think Vermont's probably going to throw the kitchen sink and a bunch of different options at Arkansas and a bunch of different defensive looks and make somebody else beat you. And that's where Arkansas can have a little bit of problems.
All right.
Yeah, JD Note is the guy from Arkansas. Just if Arkansas goes on a run, which they could in this tournament, you're going to hear his name.
I mean, he's an unbelievable player. He's probably the number 2 in the SEC Player of the Year rankings if you have to look through. And he could easily go off for 30 or 35, which he has multiple times this year. But again, I like Vermont in this one.
All right. And Bob, what about you? What bracket? What part of the region or the bracket? Where are you going first on the first round?
Yeah, so if we want to stay on the same side in the East, this was actually from a betting standpoint. The line got hammered early. Virginia Tech came out +4 against Texas. Virginia Tech, obviously, everybody's going to be high on them. Recency bias. Just won the ACC tournament, looked pretty impressive doing it. Whereas Texas did not finish strongly at all. Texas, I think I think they were 3-4 over their last 7. Virginia Tech, I think, finished 12-3. But in that span, they finished 13-2 over their final 15 games. But over that span, they were hitting 39% from 3. And same thing with Vermont. It's tough to keep a team that's shooting the ball that well from 3. It's tough to keep that team out of the game. You're not going to get much separation. And Texas is a team that goes on scoring droughts. This is Chris Beard. This is the coach who came from Texas Tech. He went over to Texas. They have a ton of talent, but it's all in transfers. And, listen, some of these teams, the transfers meshed, but Texas, for whatever it is, they go through these scoring droughts. They also had their top big man walk away from the team for, mental health reasons and left the team and hasn't come back. Texas doesn't really have a ton of depth in size. And like I said, they go through these scoring droughts and I'm just like, well, Virginia Tech, if they shoot the way they did down at the end of the regular season and then into the ACC tournament, they're going to be a tough team to beat. Now, you're not going to get +4 anymore, but you could certainly and the same thing in the case with Vermont, like we mentioned earlier. If you like a team like this, just bet them on the money line. Just bet the spread and then hit them on the money line too.
I should have mentioned that. That's a great point, Bob.
Yeah, and it's a way. If you're betting underdogs like that and you're not doing brackets, but if you're hitting underdogs, even if you're not hitting them at 50% rate, the kickback based off of just if they're +200 pregame or whatever it is, obviously you're not going to get that with Virginia Tech, but you're going to get that with, I imagine you're going to get that with Vermont if the spread's 5.5. If you hit enough underdogs, it's, the percentage isn't going to matter because the money is going to be higher just because you're hitting at plus money.
Yeah, and for that one, Virginia Tech actually. So that you said opened at +4. It's now at +1.
Yep,
Virginia Tech, and their money line's -105. So they're not even plus money right now. But if you like the underdog, I mean that's a good one to hit there because they probably should be a little higher. I mean they just won the ACC. They took out UNC and Duke on the way there. They won 4 straight days, and then they're present is an 11 seed. So congratulations, you won the ACC. Here's an 11 seed, but I think it's a favorable matchup for them as well. I do like that game as well. I wrote that down on my notes here. Virginia Tech versus Texas, and yeah, I mean it's definitely worth it. I guess on the money line at that point because it is.
And if you're wrong on that game and it's Texas and Purdue in the second round, that's going to be the weirdest matchup ever. A team with all defense and no offense in Texas against all offense and no defense in Purdue.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do in that game.
Yeah, let's see what happened with that one. But I don't know if you guys have any other bets you want to talk about or drop one more each.
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's funny. When we were on our own pod, we were talking about everybody always looks to the 5-12 games, and I this year was circling the I'm screwing up the number. I was looking at the 4-13 games.
Yeah,
and the other one, the other one that I really like is actually South Dakota State. It's a little out of order. It's the lower right-hand side of the region, the Midwest bracket. South Dakota State is playing Providence. Now, what stands out to me here is Vegas is giving South Dakota State a lot of credit. The line, I think they are the
Line +2 right now.
+2. It was at +2.5 when I saw this stat. As far as a 13 seed, as far as the number, they're the most like favored 13 or what I guess whatever you'd say. They're the most heavily liked underdog as a 13 seed ever, based off of that line alone. I think again. You see what happened to Providence in the Big East tournament against Creighton. I don't want to put too much credence into that and say, oh, they just got blown out. It's the eye test. When you're taught with like NFL betting, it's just like, all right, don't look past what you just saw last Sunday. Okay, I'm looking past that. We talk about KenPom rankings a little bit. So KenPom is a website that does like adjusted numbers based off of, full games and, tempo and different things like that. Providence is the luckiest team in the country. Now you might say, all right, well, they win close games. Well, what I'll tell you with South Dakota State is this is a team that shoots 44% from three as a team. So I don't care how, Nate Watson is a really good big man for Providence. Does South Dakota State have an answer to keep him contained? No, but do I think Providence, a team that doesn't necessarily shoot the ball that consistently from long range, do I think they're going to be able to put away a team against South Dakota State? No, because they're going to bomb and they play at pace. And I think this is going to be a dogfight. And I'm already seeing it. Like John Rothstein loves South Dakota State. Before I knew who South Dakota State was playing, I was kind of rooting for a game like this where a team that I'm low on in Providence, I didn't like them being a guy who watches a lot of Big East basketball. There's just something about this South Dakota State team that just really caught my eye.
Number 12 offense in the country, according to KenPom. That's what it is. I mean, so they can score.
Yeah.
It's like, they know, did they play at the best schedule in the country?
No.
Obviously not. But they won the games that they're supposed to win. They have a great record for a reason. They're a good team, and they've got, I think they're, what are they, number 12, right? Number 12 KenPom adjusted offense, which is that's an adjusted takes into account your strength of schedule and other things. Now defensively they're like 297, but they play at a high pace, so don't expect them to shut anybody down. But like Bob said, given the fact that Providence had their issues with getting outscored and blown out by Creighton, it's like if they don't show up defensively, then you're in a lot of trouble against a team like that.
Yeah, so they're one of the most efficient teams, but obviously they play a weaker schedule. But then adjusted, I think they're around 14th in the nation, which is still pretty good for offense efficiency.
One last thing to remember with South Dakota State, this is a team that actually, they're from the Summit. Now, the Summit, if you remember, Oral Roberts came in last year as the 15th seed, beat Ohio State. South Dakota State they weren't as dominant in the Summit as they were this year, but they were set to, everybody thought they were going to win Summit last year. They lost to Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts went into the tournament and went on a run. So it's just kind of another thing to note. It's not, Summit's a one bid conference, but they had a team go on a run from it last year too.
And Billy, you got one more pick for us before we move on to possible Cinderella stories?
This is just a general one. So if you like to make sort of the long-term bets and kind of like, okay, well, we will see a team that goes far into the tournament from a high seed. Something I like to point out that's happened in the past several years is you've seen these first four games, the play-in games on Tuesday and Wednesday, which have a lot of 11 seeds. Last year it was UCLA, it was Syracuse year before. We see a major conference team that's got the talent already there. If they can get by that first game, it's a lot of trouble for the 6th seed coming up. And you've seen those 11 seeds make runs to the Final Four, to the Elite Eight. It's like these play-in teams are no joke, even though they're the last teams technically in the tournament. Especially if they're from big conferences, they have these big schedules. They're used to playing these really good teams, and maybe there's just not as much tape on them. Maybe they get lucky, they get confident, and there's quirky things that happen. But teams like that, I really think are super interesting to watch. This year, we were talking earlier about the Rutgers and Notre Dame game, and I think that's in the West region. I think that either of those two teams could give Alabama some problems. Another team I like that I thought I was surprised they were seated where they were seated, but I think that they have enough talent on their team that they could win some games as long as their coach can avoid getting in fistfights with other coaches. Is Michigan. I really like Hunter Dickinson, and he's going to be difficult for a lot of teams to match up with. So I would say keep my eye on a team like that. Check out. I'm not sure what their odds are to make the Elite Eight, make the Final Four, but winning a couple games in a row, that could happen for a team like that.
Yeah, Michigan has Colorado State in the first round, 11-6. And Michigan, I think, has like the length against Colorado State, which could benefit them. Yeah, I mean, being 11 from a big conference, as you're saying, I think that's a favorable matchup for Michigan to start off with on that on the first round. A couple picks I had was I was following with you, Bob, San Diego State. I also did like Loyola Chicago, Sister Jean. Are you guys on there or not? Because I was thinking Ohio State on that one. Only because I think that it's Loyola Chicago's minus 115 in the money line. Ohio State's minus 105. So they're pretty close there. I think they're in the
South region.
South region, right?
Yeah. So basically,
it's a 7-10.
The line tells you everything you need to know here. I think a lot of people, and now you see it with the bookmakers, they're down on Ohio State, and kind of rightfully so. I think a lot of people expected them to do well this season. They had at one point, I think did they beat Duke when they were number one? I
actually don't remember if they
I think they did beat. I think they were Duke's first loss. Yeah.
So Ohio State, I think at that point in time, everybody thought, okay, well, Ohio State's the real deal, and EJ Liddell, as good of a big man as there is in the country, but Loyola Chicago, they, it's not the names. There was Krutwig from a few years ago on that team, but defensively, they are still just as good.
And offensively, they're more efficient now, actually.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And that to me is
that Ohio State team. Bob and I were talking about it earlier. It's a really funny thing because you look at the Big Ten as a conference, and if you look years past, you think of the Big Ten and these like bruising Wisconsin games where the final score is 54 to 48, and they beat better teams, but their Big Ten is slow it down, play defense. It's the exact opposite this year. You've got 3 Big Ten teams that are ranked that have top 15 offenses, but according to adjusted offense stats, but have defenses that are over 50. Ohio State is like that to a T. Ohio State's number 13 offense, and I think in 115 or something for adjusted defense. So Loyola is really the worst kind of matchup that a team like Ohio State could get. Ohio State wants more possessions. They want to run a little more, and Loyola is going to slow it down. You're not going to beat Loyola if they play, they're not going to beat themselves. They're going to play their game. They're going to slow it down some. And I think they'll give Ohio State a lot of problems. And I think they have the potential to beat Villanova in the second round, even though I like Villanova in this region quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just because of the kind of super senior laden team that they have. I think they've had guys who've been there since I was in college in the early 2000s, but I really like Sister Jean. I think they're for real this year.
I was gonna say the Sister Jean factor coming to your head when you're betting on Loyola Chicago.
It's my understanding that Sister Jean beat COVID, so I don't think Ohio State should be too big of a problem for the 90-plus-year-old lady.
Yeah.
She knocked me out of a survivor pool, like pretty big money a couple years ago, and I now have a tough time picking against them as a result.
Yeah, PTSD.
Yeah, for real.
Another one I was looking at was LSU minus 4. I thought that was a pretty good number for an SEC team.
The warning I'd give you here is LSU just Will Wade no longer the coach. He had his recruiting issues.
There you go. Iowa State. Sorry, that's their plan.
Yeah. But, so these are two teams that both started the season very hot, and they have now really kind of cooled off down the stretch. Listen, ton of talent on both these teams. LSU, I think, has a little bit more talent than Iowa State does, but it's their head coach is gone. So, and their interim coach does have, I forget where, but he does have head coaching experience, but it's a matter of like kind of desire with these kids. Sometimes they're college kids. Do they like the assistant coach who just got promoted? Who the hell knows? So I think it's a game that I wouldn't bet individually for that reason, just because there's those variables involved that I don't like to get involved with.
Yeah, LSU's got the talent to go very far in the tournament.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, they go into these offensive droughts where they don't really play particularly great offensively. I mean, they can play with anybody. They can beat Kentucky, they can beat Auburn, but they can lose to Vanderbilt, which is all three of happens. Like they're kind of a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. They are an excellent defensive team. They are a top 5 defensive team in the country. So that is always something I think that matters in the tournament. They can force turnovers. So I like to look at, does Iowa State turn the ball over a lot? Are they susceptible to that? Because if they are, then that's when LSU scores. LSU scores a ton of points off turnovers, and they want to get you into a game where you're making quick decisions and panic decisions. And they're long, they can trap, and they can really make life hell for you defensively.
Yeah. So moving on, those are some of the picks. But Cinderella Stories, do you guys? I know Bob was saying South Dakota State he liked earlier. I think you were saying, Billy, you were saying before, 11.
The Catamounts of Vermont, I would say, would be my Cinderella story to the Sweet 16. But there are a couple teams that I do like that are mid, that are not like, let's say, double-digit seeds that I could see making a little bit of noise. A healthy UCLA team as a number 4 seed.
Yeah.
They're a number 4 seed, but really, I think if you look at their team when they're fully healthy, they're much better than that. We saw what they did, the run that they went on last year. They still have some of those nightmare matchup problems for people. Very long. USC is a number 7 seed. There's they've got some little bit of upset potential. And then I like San Francisco. I think that they have the potential to give. I think they play Kentucky if I'm correct in the second round. I think is that right? Yeah, I think they can at least make life hard on Kentucky. I don't know if they'll be able to win that game, but they can make life hard on Kentucky.
Are they in the East or the West? Sorry, I pulled up the West.
They are. Yes, they're in the East.
It wasn't. It's block. Right here. They're right above Cinderella Stories. So that's
highlighted for you.
Yeah. So that might be a positive sign there. Bob, what about you? How do you feel about possible Cinderella story in this 2022 March Madness?
So yeah, like I said, when you got a team that shoots the ball well, it's sometimes teams. Those are the teams that are just really tough to put away. So, in the top West region, which is the West, there's something about Davidson. They
highlighted again.
Yeah. They're playing Michigan State in the first round. Michigan State, a team that only has one player who scores in double digits. They don't really have the kind of guy who could carry them at all. Davidson, on the other hand, has, well, first of all, they have a Michigan State transfer lawyer who is shooting over 40% from 3. And then they have another player. I'm not going to say his first name because I would completely butcher it. It's Hae-Jung Lee. But he averages like 16 a game also and shoots over 40% from 3. So I think when you have those two shooters, they're a team that's actually top 10 in the country from 3-point range. I think those are the teams that are tough to knock out. Duke, listen, I like Duke this year. I think when you have a guy like Banchero who really, if he has the ball in his hands at the end of the game, can get you baskets. But Duke at times has not played to their potential of the 5 top picks. And also a little bit of an in-state thing going on because Davidson not a team that gets to play Duke very often. So if that's the matchup where Davidson gets by Michigan State and they get Duke, it wouldn't surprise me to see Davidson get hot and really give Duke a game and get into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, I follow Duke and it's been tough lately watching those players get, especially with Virginia Tech, just took over that game. I mean, sometimes they just have letdown games. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't like Duke in the tournament. I know we'll get to the predictions later, but I don't know, Billy, you were about to say something.
Yeah, just one more thing. Bob and I had discussed it earlier. I think this year, overall, the number 1 seeds, while they're very good, they're not the unbeatable team that Gonzaga or Baylor was last year. You don't have that. So I think the 8-9 seeds, I think you're going to see at least number one seed that doesn't make it to the Sweet 16 this year. And I think a team to watch out for is San Diego State. San Diego State, if they win in the first round, will be going up against Kansas. San Diego State is a fantastic defensive team. So if they can push Kansas defensively, and I think we've seen Bill Self teams kind of, no pun intended, self-combust in the NCAA tournament as high seeds. I think you could see that again this year. And if I'm going to pick number one that goes down early, I would pick Kansas, and I would say San Diego State would be the reason why.
It's a bold prediction, the number one falling so early in the tournament. It'd be fun. It'd be great for the fans. I know people always love to see those upsets and cheer on the Cinderella story. I'm gonna roll with the Jackrabbits, the San Diego State Jackrabbits. That's my I'm hoping to ride them Cinderella story to at least the Sweet 16.
Listen, if in the round of 32, if it's Iowa versus San Diego State, take the over.
South Dakota State, you mean?
Sorry, South Dakota State. If it's them against Iowa, take the over, because those.
Exactly. Bang the over. Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Moving on, because I know you guys are busy. You guys have your own episodes to record, especially trying to get the stuff out before Thursday starts. So we're gonna move on to the last topic here, which is gonna be the Final Four predictions. So I do have a couple graphics for you guys. Who would like to go first? Billy, Bob, which one?
Bob, go ahead.
All right.
Let me just wrong one. There we go.
All right, which is funny. So the West region, I know I just talked about Davidson is playing spoiler. I took Duke in this region. Now for me, this is extremely chalky right now. I got 3 number ones and a number 2. It takes me a little while when I'm like trying to come up with the Final Four. It takes me a little while to like get talked out of these top seeds and say, all right, well, this is what's going to knock this team out. So the reason I just kind of quick thing here with Duke, at some point, does this Duke team not get Krzyzewski to the Final Four? There's just so much pressure on them. For me, these number ones all these teams are much more flawed than say like last year, where I think it was Gonzaga and Baylor and then everybody else. This year, I think these teams all have their flaws. So I think Duke, I don't know. I for some reason, I was just playing Cinderella story up there. I do like Baylor in the lower region. I think Kentucky, who's the number 2 there, if they have a bad shooting night, they can really just just run off the floor. And Baylor has guys who could get buckets in a variety of ways. I actually really like Arizona. I think they're an incredibly tough out at the pace that they play, and they have an incredible amount of size. And I think I had who did I have in the Midwest? I think I had Kansas, who I could also see them. I could see them also losing to San Diego State. Yeah. I just think in this region, when I was looking at it, the 2 and the 3 I think are flawed. Auburn just doesn't shoot the ball well enough to impress me, and Wisconsin, to me, they just there's teams where if they play an athletic team, I think they're just going to have a tough night. I think they need Johnny Davis to be healthy, but behind him, I just don't trust some of their other shooters to get off their own shots.
Yeah, and I was the same way too. I looked at it, I was like, I don't see these teams losing, but yeah, I'll get to mine.
It takes a little while to like come off.
It does.
To talk yourself out of those seats.
I already did my bracket like 3 or 4 times already because I was like, I'm pretty much just going, Chuck, what am I doing? This is never going to work out this way.
Yep.
Of anyone who's done bracket every single year. So Billy, here's your Final Four prediction, and you're gonna have to defend it here a little bit because he went a little more less chalk than we did.
Yeah, so he did. But what are you gonna do? I like Gonzaga. I think they have what to me looks like the easiest path to the Final Four. Their second round game, I think they should be able to take care of business. And then I look at the rest of their region, and I'm not even entirely certain Duke's going to get through into the Sweet 16 this year, let alone be there in the Elite 8 to play Gonzaga again. And I don't think Gonzaga would mind that rematch, truth be told. Gonzaga's a really interesting team because I would say this Gonzaga team is not as good as last year's team, and they won it if the two were to ever have played each other in a magical universe. But they do some things. The rest of the competition, there is no other Baylor team that can beat them this year because that team doesn't exist, and they can do some other things that they couldn't do last year. From a defensive point of view, they can really protect the rim. They've got twin towers that can defend the rim. And then they've just reloaded with a bunch of guys who are really good stars. Their backcourt is a little bit lacking, but I don't think that that's going to really end up killing them, at least in the first couple rounds of the tournament. I did watch the San Francisco game, so they can be pressed a little bit. That's how I would attack Gonzaga, but they're a very, very good team. It's going to be very, very difficult to beat Gonzaga. And then on the bottom half of that, UCLA, I think just the way that UCLA played this year is sort of symptomatic of the injuries they've had. They had a couple guys go out with COVID for a little while. Some of their best players, Jaquez and another guy went out for a while. So they've had a litany of injuries throughout the course of the season. They still managed to tread water. They played pretty well against Arizona for a while. Couldn't really maintain that, but Arizona, I think, is, along with Gonzaga, has been probably the best two teams of the tournament this year. I think that they're going to be a very difficult matchup for a team like Baylor if Baylor gets through North Carolina Marquette. Like I said, that 8-9 game is no joke. So that's why I think Baylor's got to get there to play UCLA. And then I look at the bottom half, and like we said, the Virginia Tech team against Texas, I think that's a game that could go either way. Purdue's defensively, they don't quite have enough. Kentucky's an excellent team, but Kentucky has, over their last two games that I watched, they really did not play that well. So I think they missed a lot of shots. They turned the ball over a lot. Things you didn't see from that team earlier in the season. So if Cal straightens that out, maybe they play a little bit better. But I think you could see a Kentucky-UCLA matchup in the Elite Eight and UCLA into the Final Four there. And then over on the other side, the Villanova region. I think this one I had to go back and forth on because I really do think Arizona is an excellent team. But Villanova has one of those teams that can really make you they've won a lot of close games this year, and it's like one of those teams that they don't seem that great. They have trouble protecting the rim. There's some noticeable flaws that they've got, but they have enough senior leadership and I think enough like in-game big game experience that I like them to, if they can get by the second round and move on and beat Loyola Chicago, I think that they'll make it into the Elite Eight. And then in the Elite Eight game, will they end up playing Arizona? Who knows? But more than likely, yes. And I think that anything can happen in kind of a one-off game like that. And with a squad like Villanova, first-year coach out of Arizona, first NCAA tournament, a lot of expectations. Villanova, Jay Wright, I think, will have something planned and something designed if they make it that far. So I think it's just more of a coaching thing and a leadership thing. I like Colin Gillespie in his 18th year at Villanova. I feel like he got 3 COVID exemptions. He can't still possibly be in college.
He'll be back next year.
Yeah. I think he's won like 4 Big East Player of the Years at this point in time. I like them coming in. And then on the bottom there, Auburn. I think Auburn's even though they were number 1 for a long time at the beginning of the year this year, they've had some losses recently, some close games. They don't have the type of standout players. Jabari Smith is a great player. He's averaging 17 a game, takes some bad shots, but he can shoot the 3. They're not really a great 3-point shooting team, which you would think would hurt. But if you go to look at their offensive, defensive efficiency stats, one thing that stands out is I think there's 3 teams. It's Gonzaga, Arizona, and Auburn, all 3 of whom are top 25 offense and top 25 defense adjusted. So they've got enough of a balanced team that they, like a couple of the other SEC teams, like to trap and like to force you to turn the ball over and go and push it up the floor and get some of their points that way. So they score in spurts. I think that they'll be an interesting matchup. And like I said, I don't think that the number 1 in that region is going to make it terribly far. So I like Auburn. I think Auburn was sort of the number one, like E, if you will. I think they're the best number 2 team. So I figure I'm going to take them as well. And I think that they're good enough that they are going to give. They're too long in a semifinal game against Villanova. I think they would give Villanova problems.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty thorough analysis to defend your bracket. That's we appreciate that here. And you have so you have Gonzaga winning the whole thing. So I'm kind of with Bob at Arizona. I do like Gonzaga as well. I disagree with Kentucky. I have Kentucky beating, I think, UCLA in the Elite Eight going into the Final Four. And then I took Arizona out of what the Villanova bracket was at the South. And then I agree with you at Auburn. Like I said, I think they're one of the better teams out of the 2s. Obviously, and win the SEC championship, but I'd rather trust them out of that bracket. And I agree with you at that point as well. Kansas, I don't trust Kansas enough to get to a Final Four, even as you said, even to Elite Eight. So I mean,
Bill Self curse.
Yeah, that Bill Self somehow just always implodes in the tournament early on. So I'm sticking with Arizona. You know what really convinced me in Arizona was I was watching the UCLA game this past weekend against Arizona, and UCLA took a 10-point lead early on that second half. And I was like, this team is just hot right now. Like, I don't know what is Arizona gonna do to come back? And they ended up winning that game, I think, by like 5 or 6. Like, it was pretty convincing. So I mean, and they've been pretty solid throughout the entire year. I guess now that you mentioned, I forgot that what's his name isn't there anymore. The guy who sweats through his shirt, is that Sean Miller?
Yeah,
I forgot he's not there anymore. So I'm like, first year coach. Oh shit,
it's his players. He got him in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's his guys.
But yeah, it's first year coach, and now I'm a little nervous with my pick. But I'm gonna stick with Arizona here. Obviously, too late. It's already graphics already made. The intern was busy day today, and he figured these out. He did this really quick for us, so I do appreciate you guys getting your picks over. I think that pretty much wraps up, March Madness summary. So I do appreciate you guys coming on, joining me, helping me get through this March Madness with a couple picks, possible Cinderella stories, and then a couple predictions, and trying to help people make some money here, whether it's brackets or bets. So we do appreciate you guys. Do you guys have any last minute word before a final word, like a Jerry Springer type of thing? Final word.
Enjoy the best couple days of the year, because Thursday and Friday are this is the best weekend of the year. So just kick back, relax, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you like kind of the nerdy basketball talk, Bill and Bob's bracket busting bonanza over on Apple and SoundCloud, but I think you go through Apple anyway. I think we're not rappers, so you go right to Apple with it.
No, as you can see with the white shirt. No,
yeah. All right, well, there it is. Once again, Bill and Bob's Bonanza. What is the 5 Bs? You said the 5B podcast?
Well, yeah, so we used to do a little football, but basketball is definitely – college hoops is definitely our bread and butter. So the 5 Bs, Bill, Bob, bracket, busting, Bonanza, 5 Bs.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you guys again. We really do appreciate it. And everyone else, I guess tune into them. Check them out on Apple. They'll have more thorough analysis than they already gave us today. So we do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll hopefully speak soon.